Hey everybody, welcome back to our Walking with Jesus Daily series. This is day 16, also day 2 in our chronological scripture walk. And yesterday was an awesome day as we began this journey, understanding what the importance of an eyewitness account is, understanding the importance of what Luke was writing, and the importance of what the entire Gospels are written and founded on, which is the eyewitness accounts of actual, factual, historically accurate things that happened in the lives of many people at the time where Jesus walked the earth. So we can be sure and certain that the things that we were taught and the things that we know are true. Okay? Now we flip over to John. John is not the same as Luke. John is an actual eyewitness where Luke was not. John is a Jew, which Luke was not. John was a fisherman, where Luke was a physician. John was not a historian, but he was a apostle, sent by Jesus himself, selected by Jesus himself, along with his brother James. John was one of the sons of thunder. John was, like we said, a fisherman by trade, and because of that, it made him unique to the mission that Jesus had set for him. So as we read about John, we're going to read about Jesus, but through the book of John. But there's also things in here about John that are important for us to remember. This is the milk section. We're going to call this, from this point forward and backward, milk and meat. And this first overview will be the milk section. The meat will be in the second section. And that way, we can hit this on a surface level, historical level, and based on the facts, and then we can hit it on the spiritual level, that it was really intended to be read at and see and know the difference. So let's get started here. It's going to be John, the Gospel of John, chapter 1. This is the New Testament. Chapter 1, Matthew, Mark, Luke, John. And then it's going to be verses 1 through 5 is where we're going to start. I'm going to read a couple different versions, but let's get started here. It says, "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was in the beginning with God. All things were made through him, and without him was not anything made that was made. In him was life, and the life was the light of men. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it." There's a lot here. So let's hit this. Let's hit this at the very first time we've ever read this. What is this actually saying? What does this actually mean? Level. In the beginning, a nod back to the very beginning of the writings, the very beginning of life, creation. Genesis starts with, in Genesis 1:1, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Right? We know that pretty well. We've read that or said that many times. And that we can go into a lot deeper as well. But what we read about when we're in Genesis is that we read of God, but we also read in verse 2, the earth was without form and void, and darkness was over the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the face of the waters. What we can know from reading Genesis, comparing it to John, is that there was God the Father in this place, and simultaneously there was the Spirit of God hovering over the waters or the face of the deep. So we know God and His Spirit were present at this time. Now, this is what John says. In the beginning was the Word. Well, you're thinking, what was the Word? Are we talking about the Bible? Or what are we referring to here? What is the Word? This is what it says, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. So the Word was with God, and the Word was God in the beginning. So something or someone was with God in the beginning of all things that were created. We can know that before all things were made, there was God. There must have also been the Spirit of God, and there must have also been the Word. So this is three, but this says the Word was with God, so they were together, but the Word was also God, so they were one and the same. Then it uses the word He in verse 2. He was in the beginning with God. Who we are talking about here is Jesus. John, the writer, is later going to go on to describe this Word became flesh, this He. So we know that the Word is Jesus. We know this because of the writer tells us this. All right, so this is what you can know. In the beginning there was God. In the beginning there was the Spirit of God. And in the beginning there was Jesus. All three of these were one and the same, yet they were together with one another, but one and the same. Verse 3 says this: all things were made through Him. So through Jesus is how all things were made. Now, did God speak it into existence? Yes. Did Jesus create it through that? Yes. Was the Spirit of God present? Yes. That's good. So I don't want to hand it down in a certain way, but if we did look at it from this standpoint, we would have God, the architect, working along with Jesus, the carpenter. Isn't that funny how we call him the carpenter? And he was like a carpenter's son, and that just happened to be the father that God gave him, and Joseph was the carpenter's son, or the stoneworker's son, or however you want to call it. He was a builder. Okay, he made things. So Jesus is like perfect role, been doing this since the beginning. So all things were made through Him, and without Him. So where His presence was not without Him, was not anything made that was made. So in the beginning is what we're talking about here. The beginning of time, the beginning of life, the beginning of creation. All things that created at that time, including people, were made through and by Jesus. And there is nothing that was made without Him. Not one star in the sky, not one planet, nothing. All things made through Jesus. All right. So what it says next. In Him was life, and the life was the light of men. Okay. In Him was life. He was the actual life that we have. In Him, and the life was the light of men. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. Now, sometimes it's good to read different versions, to get different feel for different things. In Jesus was the power and the ability to give life. It was through Him that all things were made. So what is made? Life. Okay? Through Him was life and the light of men. And that light shines on the darkness. And the darkness does not understand it, or overpower it, or absorb it. Why? Because light overpowers. See, anywhere that there is light, there is the absence of darkness. And anywhere there is darkness, there is the absence of light. However, if you take a room that is lit up and you try to bring darkness into it, what happens? Nothing. Because there can only be light. Only one of the two can exist if one of the two is present. See, one is with and one is without. Darkness would be the absence of light. Light makes darkness disappear. Darkness cannot absorb light. Darkness is removed when light shines. This is Jesus. This is who we're going to talk about. This is who we're going to continue to talk about. So hang with me if you decide to flip to side B. Thanks, guys.